clubs contribute to the negative connotation of cannabis use. Though I know that many clubs do offer a safe, comfortable, and communal space for palliative self-care, from the exterior it is impossible to know this. The discreet frontages draw attention from curious outsiders and often criticism from uninformed neighbors. One may say that if I am not a medical marijuana patient, perhaps I have no business knowing what goes on inside the sanctuaries. But I disagree. These facilities are part of our urban fabric. They can't hide, nor should they be relegated to the fringe or be forced into restrictive, ambiguous representations of the business being conducted. This is a shop in the Lower Haight that is called the Vapor Room, and it's the most elaborately painted locked gate of all of them. Of the 30 that I actually analyzed in San Francisco, 29 of the 30 have locked gates. The existence of medical marijuana dispensaries is an important tool for the normalization of cannabis collectively. At the core is the importance for patients to get their medicine, but it is better for all of society for the spaces to be open, welcoming places of health and healing, and to be integrated and accepted by the community. We have an incredible opportunity to acclimate the public to cannabis being a common, accepted part of our culture. A majority of Californians want marijuana accessible and available. While the legal tide is flowing in favor of medicinal marijuana, let's ride that tidal wave together, working with club owners, patients, communities, and governments to create a legitimate and visible cannabis landscape. Often, the most visible signage incorporate medicinal imagery. And I believe that the attempts to combine the medicinal imagery with pot symbols will help do this. Put pot out into the public. Let them be pot leaves. Let them be embedded with green crosses. These are different signs of different dispensaries that have much, much more overt signage, but they're typically with medical, so it makes them feel a little safer, I believe. Versus a dispensary like this that has no signage whatsoever. These are typically identified by their address alone. You can see that 722 has a circle around it. So this address is known as 722 Columbus Avenue. This is the Green Cross, and I included this in my study because the Green Cross was a facility that was trying to embed itself more into the community. This is the block that it was in, and it actually got a license before it opened up, and because it had a license, it could have something revoked. It did have its license revoked because of a nuisance. It had too much foot traffic. And this factors into my belief that we have to be really careful with the regulations. We all need to be responsible with the regulations, not just patients, not just owners, but us as a community, because they can seriously impact the natural progression of these into our environment, as I will show you from Amsterdam, where in one very small area, there's over 100 coffee shops, and they can compete, and they can be open, and they're much safer when there's more of them, versus being relegated 1,000 feet away from each other, where they then have to have security guards to be safe. So what I say is one of the most damaging regulations is that of the number of caps on dispensaries. Capping numbers of cannabis spaces restricts the natural progression of what geographer Dr. Adrian Jensen termed atmospheric differentiation. This is just a still from the old website from the Green Cross that shows that, on the website they can be a little more open about what they're doing, which is selling cannabis, but outside it's a little bit more ambiguous. So we'll just go a little stroll through Amsterdam. And it's important to note that atmospheric differentiation is part of cannabis culture. We want to have spaces that reflect personal taste, ambiance, music, maybe the fellow clientele. In the center, the Siberi is a coffee shop that is in one of the nicer canal districts, kind of upper middle class area. This is just a brief synopsis of the Dutch co-evolution with cannabis. As most of you may know this, so I'll just go through it quickly. In 1976 is when the separation between soft drugs and hard drugs was actually put into the legal system. Of course, it only decriminalized personal use, no qualification for how cannabis was to be acquired. So therefore, unlicensed coffee shops emerged. In 1980, there were only 9 coffee shops, and according to Dr. Jensen, he said that they were situated in unattractive buildings in the localities which provide space for all sorts of social, economic, and cultural experiments. This is tracking like what's happening in San Francisco by the map I showed you earlier. Tolerance of the sales leads to proliferation, and then the need for regulation because there seems like there's too many, now it's time to license them. And as is in San Francisco, I find too. The informal practices are adopted as codified regulations. Oh, you guys are running it pretty well, so we'll turn what you're doing already because you figured out safe ways to run your business into law. Except, we want to have a nuisance clause added, which is a qualitative measure, not quantitative. Qualitative that says you're now bugging something, someone, somehow, and we're going to shut you down. So this is the one code I believe we need to really be careful with. And now there's over 200 shops in Amsterdam, in all different neighborhoods, high-end shopping districts, tourist areas, residential areas, etc. This is a map of the very center district of Amsterdam. The map on the left, the red is what's highlighted, it's enlarged on the right. It's an area that's about half a mile wide and not even a mile long. And there's 119 coffee shops in this very small area. And in that area, they're able to remain profitable. They can account for large numbers and tremendous variety of coffee shops because of this atmospheric differentiation that needs to remain. For example, in Berkeley, there's only 3 cannabis clubs allowed, and they need to be 1,000 feet away from each other. That doesn't give people a different variety, different places to go to ingest, or as Amanda has shown you, there's a lot of different services being offered, and I think that a lot of more clubs need to exist in order to give everybody the...
We so happy we alive, we together can survive. Stop the bullshit, stop the lies, and now's the time to legalize. Tell me brother, tell me true, what the hell we gonna do? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? We so happy, we alive, we together can survive. Mother Nature, heaven sent, don't belong to government. Hey there sister, what's the plan? Do you really understand? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? We so happy, we alive, we together can survive. Stop the bullshit, stop the lies, now's the time to legalize. Half the world up in smoke, where on earth can we take the toll? Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me? Human nature full and free modifies reality. Open up, inner flower, peace and love, inner power. Open up, inner flower, peace and love, inner power. Remember the days we saw purple haze. 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me?